Hello, welcome to today's live at 5, where I'm talking about self care and how to move away from burnout. And it's especially for those of you who, like me, perhaps find it quite difficult to say no and to look after yourself. And the reason I am doing this live feed tonight is following supervision. So I had supervision this morning and I'd like to share some of the learning that has come away from my supervision. And as my supervisor said to me, she said, I'm aware that as I'm saying this, that equally the person who looks after me could be saying it to me. And let's acknowledge that many of us really struggle with our self-care and actually allowing ourselves to take time off. But what I wondered first off is if you ever experience this phenomenon, which is what I experienced today. So I had a chat with my supervisor, and I realised during the course of the chat that really I did need to cancel something that I had on this afternoon. So after I'd finished supervision, I got in touch with the person who I was going to see after lunch. And I explained why I couldn't see them. And I got a message back from them saying, actually, that's probably quite helpful because I'm just back from holiday. I'm pretty busy today. And so me postponing this particular meeting actually suited them as well. And I wonder if you have ever found that in your practices, that maybe either you cancel and it's quite convenient for the client, or a client cancels and it's quite convenient for you. And I often find this happens with me. And I think often what I do is I get very het up about, oh dear, well, how's it going to affect people? And often, it doesn't actually affect them. And the other thing that got me thinking about this today was answering someone in the Good Enough Counsellors group who was talking about how they're trying to sustain their client work and their family, and how completely they just don't feel they've got time at the moment. And I sort of said to them, you're not the sun around which everybody else sort of revolves. And as I said that, I thought, gosh, that is so true of me, and that often I feel as though I am indispensable to people. And that's sort of somehow that everything, people are relying on me, they're revolving around me, and it's up to me to sort of shine that light out to them the whole time. And of course, it isn't really like that, is it? Because everybody is actually responsible for themselves. So I thought it would be quite interesting just to explore this a little bit in this afternoon's live feed. And part of the reason why I thought I'd explore it is because I've actually had to make quite a difficult decision this afternoon. And my supervisor asked me about it this morning, and I've gone away about it. And when she asked me this morning, I said, there is no possible way I could do that. No, I can't do that. But actually, having had time to reflect this afternoon, I have actually made this decision. And my decision is I was planning to do my live feed challenge next week, and I've decided to postpone it because I'm not in a position to be able to put the energy into it at the moment. Now, it brought up lots of fears for me. And I think some of the fears are, what will people think if I am to cancel? Will they think I'm flaky, for example? And yeah, I think about it and I think, well, actually, how many times have I actually cancelled something when I've said I'm going to do it? And to be honest, most of the time when I'm doing something like this, I always will do it. So I think I could let myself off the hook on that one. But also there's other fears. Or if I don't do this, are people going to think that it's not worth following me? Are they going to think that I'm not? I sort of feel as though if I don't do something, that my work might fail, my business might fail, and that's a very sort of black and white way of thinking, but that's the way my brain goes. And also, there's that idea of my self-worth being tied up in what I do as opposed to who I am. And I think that's often what we can trip over, in that we think about what are people going to think of us, and if I'm not being productive, that therefore people won't value me as much. And this is a particularly for me something that I have to really work on and think about. So that's where I'm coming from. But of course, I probably don't need to tell you where that actually leads. And it can lead to overwork, and then once you're overworking, then you start to maybe feel resentful towards what you're doing. It becomes less enjoyable. You are beginning to get those sort of classic signs of burnout where it just feels like, oh, I've got to face another day. You don't have that joy in your work. You might find that you don't really, you almost find that clients feel like a burden and an imposition on you, as opposed to thinking, oh, great, I wonder how we're going to work with this situation today. So that's so easily where we can go. And I think the real thing that helped me this morning when I was talking to my supervisor was really thinking about the long-term effects of this sort of behaviour, that if I carry on just working far beyond my tiredness and where I haven't got the energy, that actually that's going to have a long-term effect, and that it's really important to listen to our bodies. And my body is just telling me at the moment that I am absolutely exhausted and having problems because I am so exhausted. So for me, it's a case of being able to say, you know what, this isn't going to happen now. It's only going to be postponed. That's going to help me have time. I can actually produce something that's better and stronger and more helpful to people if I actually give myself some time away now. And I think that's the important thing for us all to remember if we are facing these difficult decisions about cancelling and postponing clients, is actually to think to ourselves, in the longer term, how is this going to be of benefit? And usually if you can take that long-term view and, in a sense, treasure yourself and think to yourself, I want to be doing this in the long term. And so whatever impact it has in the short term, in the longer term, I know this serves me better, then I think that's a balance that we can make, and we can take that difficult decision. It's like my supervisor was saying to me, that you can still feel yucky about the decisions you're making if you're setting your boundaries and you're saying, no, I can't do this, or I'm going to charge for that. That although it feels horrible to do, in the longer term, it makes much more sense because it's over the whole of your business. That you can, you might find it difficult, but longer term, it's better for you. I've just had this slightly distracted because I had a lovely little comment from Samantha. I'm cheering you on, Josephine. Treasuring yourself is so important. Thank you for that, Sam. And indeed, that is what my supervisor said to me this morning. She said, talk about this. This is important, and it's important for people who are following you as well. And don't we all want to have this lovely sort of myth of it being indispensable and being indestructible? But we were laughing because I said, I quite like to be a robot where I just am never tired. But the fact is that I'm not a robot. I do get tired. And then in closing, I think the other thing I just wanted to sort of have as a reminder is that we actually can't control everything. And I would dearly, dearly, dearly love to be able to wave that magic wand. I'd dearly love to be a robot and to have infinite energy. But actually, the only thing I can control is the way I choose my timetable, and I can choose to re-energize myself, for example. I can choose to look after my well-being, or I can drive myself into the ground. And I can't really wave the magic wand to give myself more energy, and I can't really wave the magic wand to make everything work for everybody else. And I think that's sort of something for me to think about. So thank you so much for watching this little bit of a rambling live stream today. So just to reiterate, I won't be running the live feed challenge next week. I will be running it at some point in the future. I'm meeting up with my coach this week, and we'll be planning my quarter 3. So it will be in the plan, but perhaps not next week. So thanks so much for watching, and thank you for your encouragement, Samantha. I really appreciate that. And take care. Bye for now.